I'm Brent Phillips and I'm the Manager of Communications and Community Relations Department here at VicDeaf. VicDeaf's the primary service provider for deaf and hard of hearing people in Victoria, and we work with a range of organisations and stakeholders, including government, non-government organisations and the private sector, to ensure we provide access and information and support to deaf and hard of hearing people. We also provide awareness training and information to the mainstream community about our language and culture and community.
So my name is Vanessa Ravlich and I'm 21 years old. I've grown up deaf. I have 2 deaf sons and my fiancé is deaf.
I've been deaf since birth. My parents are deaf, my brother's deaf and my grandparents were deaf too. So I was born into the community by default and it just went from there.
I'm Anne Bremner. I'm a deaf person. My parents were also deaf, but they did not use sign language. I went to a school for the deaf which did not use sign language. And after school I went straight to the Deaf Club to learn sign language. It was a wonderful experience for me.
Auslan is the acronym for Australian Sign Language, the language of the deaf community here in Australia.
Auslan is not a universal language, it's only used in Australia.
It has its own grammar, syntax, grammatical structure, and it's completely different to English, and a lot of people assume Auslan is English on the hands.
A lot of people think that signs around Australia are all the same, but they're not. We have the northern and the southern dialect.
Some deaf people use Auslan and others prefer to speak or lip read. So really it depends on the person.
In Tasmania, for example, the word cream, they use this sign. Here in Melbourne, that sign is shit. So there you go.
Deaf people, sometimes they're quite blunt and they say, oh, you're really fat. You know, you can tell quite obviously what people are saying.
If you look back in the olden days, if you like, and I'm talking the 1800s, the early 1900s, most deaf people would use finger spelling, the alphabet on their hands, because they had such good English and everything would be spelt out on their fingers. And then with TV, we had people from Italy coming to Australia, a lot of Greek people coming, and they used so many gestures, and deaf people saw that and felt, you know what, we can start to sign and be more open. Because previously it was a hidden language. There was a stigma with using sign language. But once we had the Europeans here with the way they gesticulate as well, and after the war in the 1950s, we started to find ourselves being far more natural with our expression, and there we are.
One of the main reasons why we produce information in Auslan is not only for those who have literacy issues, but it's also important that we provide Auslan information or content for the deaf community because they have the right to access information in their first language, so that is key. Regardless of people's literacy levels, a lot of people still appreciate the opportunity to be able to view the information in their first language, and that's so important. I think a lot of people have different perceptions about what culturally deaf means, but for me as a deaf person, I think to be culturally deaf, it means you're a member of a community, you sign, you're involved in the community activities, you're involved in the community groups that take place, sporting events, and having an innate understanding and a true belief and identity of what it means to be deaf and being proud about it too.
Because we don't hear, we often rely on our intuition. We rely on our eyes as well, but we have Deafhood, which is what we describe as our intuition.
If I'm, holding a young baby and the baby is making all those babbling noises, hearing people will say, "Oh, can you hear that?" No, I can feel it. I can feel through the baby, that it is making sounds, and it throws them. They suddenly think, "Oh gosh, can you hear?" But of course not, we can feel those sounds.
A lot of traditions that are well known within the deaf community, things like the long goodbye and also people catching up within the context of the kitchen.
If you are in a deaf person's house, you'll be able to tell straight away. For example, there's lights signalling when the doorbell rings or when the phone rings, and it's just so noisy.
A deaf person would go and see a doctor was writing down the notes and the deaf person wants his attention, starts tapping on the table, and the doctor was thinking, "Well, that's not usual behaviour," but that's how we get each other's attention.
Like you saw in the Deaf Kitchen theatre production, there were lots of things like the lights and using the kitchen table and banging to get people's attention and that kind of thing.
I think VicDeaf contributes so much to the community through various programs and services and has over the last 130 years.
The deaf community is almost like one big family. We're not blood, so to speak, but our heart is the same. We have the same experiences of being deaf.
As somebody who works within the organisation, I see all the work that we do and I just think, wow, the commitment of the people and the staff here to ensure that deaf people have the opportunity to achieve the best in their lives is something extraordinary that I extremely value within the organisation.
That's why I think it's important to have VicDeaf and Deaf Victoria and other organisations providing advocacy and support to the deaf community.